focus has got to be on the other person. One of the reasons people are scared of selling is because they're thinking about themselves. I wonder if they're going to like me. I wonder if they're going to think I'm pushy or bad. Oh my God. They're never going to want to speak to me again. Oh,
did I do that right? Is this all of that stuff?
No. Just take those thoughts out of your head. Insert these thoughts in your head. Who is this woman sitting in front of me? She looks a little sad today. I wonder why. Well, I'm going to make it my mission to put a smile on her face.
All right. Welcome to the Professional Rule Breaker Podcast. I am so thrilled that you're here today because we have a really special treat for you. We have the founder of eCircle Academy. He's also an international bestseller of 7 books. He's a podcast host, and his podcasts are the Thought Leader Revolution podcast and the Sovereign Man podcast. And best of all, he believes that business is not a numbers game. It's a people's game, which is really near and dear to my heart. So I want to welcome my next guest, Nicky Billou.
Kathy, thanks for having me on the show. An honor to be here.
I'm excited to have you here because I love, like what I said in the intro, I love how you said that business is not a numbers game. It's about people. So tell me a little bit more about that. Because people don't think that normally. They think, hey, everybody's a number and they just keep on churning.
Sure. Well, my late father, Napoleon Billou, was an entrepreneur. And he's the greatest man I ever knew. He was a human of the first order that just was all about people. And if he knew you and you were looking for work, he'd find you a job. He wouldn't give you pointers. He'd actually work the phones and find you a job. If you were trying to start a business, he'd sit down with you and help you get that business going. And if he knew you and you were trying to buy a car or a house and you didn't quite have enough money, he'd top you up so you could do that. And a lot of people, when they hear me say this, they go, come on, man, who does that? I go, well, the late, great Napoleon Billou, for one. And he came from a culture in Iran where that was actually something that was admired and extolled and celebrated. And secondly, he was somebody who really wanted to make a difference for his fellow man. That's what he was all about, and I wanted to be just like my dad. And I remember when I was a kid, Dad would tell me, son, remember, life isn't about money, it's about people. He said, even business isn't about money, it's about people. And I would ask him, I was a kid, right? I go, Dad, what are you talking about? Business is all about money, right? And no, he said, the first thing you got to understand about business is it's about solving problems for people. And then when you do that, you get the right to make a profit. You earn that right. And I was like, wow. He said, you always got to remember that person that you're talking to across the way, that's someone's mother, someone's daughter, that's someone's wife, that's someone's sister, that's someone's husband, that's someone's father, that's someone's brother, that's someone's son. They're a hero to somebody. They're somebody who's had incredible triumphs in their life and devastating disappointments. And in this moment, they're in front of you for only one reason. There is a part of their life, big or small, where they're experiencing a problem and they want that problem solved. And your job as a good human being is to solve that problem. It's not to reach out for the money, it's to solve that problem. If you do that, then God will smile down on you and you will prosper. If you think about yourself and what's in it for you and don't really care whether you deliver for that person, then God will frown on you and you will, in the long run, not prosper. It may look like you will prosper. You could be like, a drug lord or a human trafficker or something like that. And it could look to you that, hey, this is the life. I got all the money. This is easy. But God's looking and God keeps score. Every single thing you do, God keeps score. So just keep that in mind. That's what he would tell me. And I was like, I bought in. I drank that Kool-Aid. It was good Kool-Aid, So
That is amazing. Like literally, it's like you have brought a tear to my eye. It's That's amazing. You must be very proud of your dad. And I think he
great
instilled a
man.
really great lesson in you. So tell me how you've taken what he's taught you and brought it forward. Because it sounds like you're probably paying it forward right now.
Well, you know, as I said, my father was an entrepreneur and he believed in entrepreneurship. And I saw through him that entrepreneurs were heroes. Every entrepreneur that I've ever met has a heroic side to them. They go out there and they've got a vision and they want to make it come alive. How many people do that? Not a lot. And the whole world derides your vision. Even members of your own family deride your vision at times. And one of my mentors said to me once, first, they ridicule you, then they ignore you, then they grudgingly accept you, then they celebrate you and say they were with you all along. And that is really what an entrepreneur's journey is like. All those phases that I just outlined for you. And I wanted to be somebody who stood up for those brave men and women who had the courage to go out there and make their dreams come true, because every good thing in our society happens because an entrepreneur has the courage to go after his dream or her dream. When she hires people, jobs are created. When he goes out there and innovates and makes people's lives better, a little bit of ease comes into this hard and tough world of ours. And because this entrepreneur, this man, this woman has the courage to step forward, other people are looking and they get inspired and they do the same. So I'm telling you what, I think entrepreneurs are absolutely magnificent, regardless of what Hollywood tries to do to make business people look bad in every single commercial or movie that they put out there. With the exception of Matt Houston, by the way, if you never saw the show Matt Houston from the early 80s, you should go buy it on DVD and you should watch it, because that's the case of a billionaire businessman, good guy. So,
Oh, is it? Okay, I'm gonna have to look that up because I have
Matt
not. I
Houston,
have
starring
not.
Lee Horsley. Yeah. Go check it out. You got to watch it. It's a fun show. So I was all about that. I wanted to see entrepreneurs win. I got into business. I started working with entrepreneurs initially as a health and fitness coach. I worked with a lot of CEOs. I had a brand called the CEO Health Coach. I used to work with Olympic gold medalists and so forth. And a couple of the books that I wrote, this is the first edition of my book, Finish Line Thinking. And this is
Okay.
all about helping entrepreneurs
How to
and
think like a and win like a champion. Yeah.
yeah. And this is the second edition of it. So I added a few things to it. They're both quite thin books. The foreword to this one was written by a friend of mine who's an Olympic gold medalist, and it's all around how to adopt the mindset of winners. And then I'm a father, and at the time my kids were really young, I wanted to give them something other than woke communist crap. So I got myself, and I wrote myself a book
Oh
called
my gosh, that's so funny. I love the name.
Johnny Jobmaker.
Kathy. Yeah, Kathy, capitalist, and Johnny
Jobmaker.
Jobmaker.
Yeah, yeah. Video
For
game
everybody
company.
that's listening, and unfortunately doesn't have video, if you want to see these, make sure you go to YouTube so you can see this. Keep on going. I love what you
Yeah,
like. I could just listen to you. You're so passionate. It touches my heart.
thank you. I appreciate that very much. So I wrote this book because I wanted parents who wanted their kids to grow up to believe in self-reliance, discipline, going after their own dreams, to have that kind of message out there. So this is the book I wrote for children. I think it's a wonderful book. They're all on Amazon. You can go pick them up. And then shortly after that, actually not super shortly, I wrote a book for people that were starting their own businesses for the first time. They'd been working in a job. It's called The Thought Leader's Journey. It's written in the form of a fable, very similar to Og Mandino's great books and Robin Sharma's great books. But it gives profound lessons on how to start a business, how to get past the fear that holds so many people back who are working in a corporate job and actually go out and start a business and turn it into money. So The
Wow.
Thought Leader's Journey is that book. And it's, I'm a very good writer. I have fantastic communication skills, and I've been uh, my goal since I was a kid was to be a writer. So I got to write these books, and I've read over 4,000 books in my lifetime. So this was book number 4, and then I wrote a health and fitness book with one of my buddies who's an Olympic gold medalist. I don't have that here, but after that, I started to write a book on the power of connecting, because I think, as I said, life and business are about people. So if you want to grow your business, connecting with other human beings is powerful. Now, I co-wrote this book with somebody. The writing was done by me, and much of the content, the majority of it is mine, but there's some content that came from Kai Bjorn, who is a former world champion sailor and the former head of BNI Canada. So this book is fantastic in that regard. And then I wrote another book with one of my clients who's the top insurance agent in Canada in his field of insurance. And he wrote a book called How to Create $1 Million a Year Income. And this book is all about inspiring people with that magical number of $1 million, because we all want to make $1 million.
Because that is a magical number.
Magical number. So he's done it and has been doing it for 7 straight years. So we put this book together to help get that message out there. So these books, these are, my 6 kind of 5 business books and 1 inspirational book for kids. Then there's the 7th one, which is a book for health and fitness. And then I got into the culture wars because I was getting sick of communism being shoved down our throats. And I wrote a book identifying companies that had gone crazy woke. So this is a book to help boycott them with author Wayne Allen Root. And then we wrote
The Great Patriot
boycott book. So this is a list of 116 companies to boycott. And this is a list of 128 companies to boycott from. And then, the book caught the attention of President Trump, and he endorsed it, which was kind of cool. And these are the 10 books that I've written and published, and there's 2 more on the drawing board for this year.
Wow, that's amazing. I mean, first, it's a wide variety, but you also have, a good portion of your books, I feel almost like wraps your arms around people, and especially business people. In just talking to you, early on, I can feel that passion that you have to help people. So tell me, what steps do you first take when you're working with an entrepreneur? Because you've had some great success with entrepreneurs, helping them, go 7 to 9 figures, which is very impressive. What are the first few steps that you help them through?
Well, let me give you a couple of stories, because I think this is the best way to do it. I had a client that I worked with for 4 years. His name is Victor Menashe. Victor is from Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. And he's involved in real estate. He invests in real estate. He does projects. He buys them. He upgrades them. He rents them out. Sometimes he sells them. So when I met Victor, he was already doing this. He'd been doing it for quite some time. And he had a portfolio of properties. So on top of that, he coached people on how to do real estate. So Victor was doing 10-unit deals. When I met Victor, he sounded like every other real estate guru expert out there. You know what I mean? Because there's a gazillion of them.
Right, there is.
So I started to coach Victor in creating a powerful personal brand, a thought leader brand. So Victor became a thought leader in the area of investing in real estate. So he niched down his approach. A lot of people that get into this space, well, I'll work with anybody who wants to invest, but not Victor. Victor said, I want to work with people who already have 50 units. I know how to get them from 50 to 500 units. I'm like, whoa, 50 to 500. Okay, so that's how he positioned himself. And then I said to Victor, you need to write another book. He had a book. I said, no, listen, you have a specialty in raising money. Magnetic Capital was his book. So he wrote the book Magnetic Capital. And then I had my podcast, and then I said, Victor, you could use a podcast. So he created a podcast. It's called the Real Estate Espresso Podcast.
Okay.
And
that's a great name.
It's a great name. It's We sharpened up his enrollment and sales skills. So when he was speaking to people, he was a much sharper and better salesperson. So Victor went from attracting enough investment to do 10 unit deals. Now he's doing 10,000 unit deals. Small towns in places like Colorado are having entire communities built by Victor and his team as a
Wow.
result of this. His podcast has had close to 10 million downloads. So he is the shit diggity in his area, as it were. His book,
Right.
Magnetic Capital, got him on Fox Business, what used to be called CNBC. I don't know what they're called anymore these days, but those folks, he got on some of the biggest real estate podcasts in the world. He became close friends with the legendary Robert Kiyosaki, who wrote the book Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yeah.
So, Victor went from an unknown wannabe real estate guru like everybody else to being a branded CEO thought leader, and went from doing 10 unit deals to doing 10,000 unit deals. 10,000 unit deals. You think about
That's
what a
exponential. Yeah.
is. So Victor and I worked together for 4 years, and it ran its course. We were done with one another. But what he learned from me set him up to be able to do all of this stuff. And if you're a CEO of a company right now, or maybe you're just starting out, or you're a coach or a consultant with, a business under $1 million a year, the most important thing to help you take your business and scale it to the next level is a thought leader brand. But that brand has to be grounded in reality. You can't just go, okay, I'm going to create a brand. No, we're not talking about you being an influencer with zero actual value to add, just really good sizzle. We're talking about you need to be that hunter that shoots the elk, drains it, guts it, cuts the nice choice cuts of elk meat off of it, makes a nice thick elk meat ribeye, cooks it to medium rare. Don't you dare cook it to anything else.
That's right.
Serves it to
You're
customers.
ruin it if you do. Yeah.
Right. Serves it to customers, and they eat it and they go, that's the best steak I ever had. That's what we coach people to do inside their business, because if they do that, they're going to come across as real and authentic, because they are real and authentic. If they don't, if they try to go the shortcut route or the influencer route, they're going to come across as another slimy salesman or a slimy saleswoman. And that's not what you want. And when we teach people how to do that, and when they work with us, their business just goes to a whole new level. They feel better about themselves because they're being real and authentic. And the people that get to work with them, their lives are forever transformed in a beautiful and positive way.
Absolutely. You said the magic word, authentic, because I think if you are not authentic to who you are, nothing feels good and nothing works. You're going to be putting out a persona that's not you. And eventually that's going to end up catching up with you. And your potential customers are going to know in an instant. They're going to feel it. They're going to know it. They're going to see it. Because everywhere, your body language, the way you say things, the way you act, it's not authentic. So I totally agree with you. And as far as how important it is, not only to be authentically you, but then treat almost like everyone like you would want to be treated. It's like the golden rule. And I even have a mantra that I teach people. I'm like, this is my mantra, is like, sell like you would want to be sold to. It's the same thing. It's going back to the golden rule of, and I think if people follow that, the sky's the limit.
Absolutely. I wholeheartedly agree. A lot of people are scared of selling in this day and age. They don't want to come across as pushy. They don't want to come across as salesy. They're just, and you know what? I get it, because they probably dealt with people like that and shook hands with them and thought, I need to wash my hands, or I got to go take a shower. But here's the problem with that approach. You don't get to help people that you legitimately should be helping. You lose out on making a difference for a fellow human being, and you lose out on revenue and success for your own business. That's terrible. And the reason is the word sales. The word sales, unfortunately, in our culture has a terrible connotation to the vast majority of people. When people hear the word sales, they go, oh, most people. So I was working with one of my mentors, and I said, well, how do we overcome this negative connotation? He said, reframe sales to service. I'm like, huh? You're not selling to somebody, you're serving them to their dream. And I'm like, damn, that's good. So I started to teach my clients who had an issue with sales to reframe sales to service. Nobody wants to be a pushy salesperson, but everybody loves a caring, service-driven advocate. And just with that, so many of our clients doubled, tripled, quadrupled, tenfolded their business.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, my view on sales is that sales is a noble art.
Agreed.
And I actually think sales makes the world go around. I know that my audience probably already has heard all of that beforehand, but it really is, because exactly what you said. When you are in sales, your goal is to help someone. That's what your goal is. It shouldn't be like, I'm going to get a bigger paycheck and thinking solely about the paycheck. It's all about focusing on the other person and what is it that you can do to help them get to the next level. And exactly what you said, it's service.
Service. Yes, 1000%.
Yeah, 10 million %, right? A lot. And I think also, it's reframing just what you said. But what I find is that everybody has experience selling, whether they think they do or they don't. Because every day you're selling, whether it's to your kids, to your spouse, to a waitress because you want to get something special at a restaurant, to a potential customer. I mean, it's continuous. And I think, again, it's reframing it into something that's noble, something that's good, something that is of service.
1000%.
Absolutely. So I know that obviously one of your books, you specialize in leadership. And to grow a business, you have to be a good leader. So let's talk about that.
Well, we really delve more into thought leadership than anything else. But to talk about leadership in general, I mean, I lead a men's organization myself. And the day I became a good leader was the day I first became a father. Because to be a leader, I had to put my newborn son's interests ahead of my own.
Mm-hmm.
And leadership, true leadership, is about putting the interests of those you lead ahead of your own. And ironically, when you do that, you become more powerful, you become stronger. But a lot of people, unfortunately, they go into a space where the focus is all on you. And you can't do that. You can't do that in a sales situation. You can't do that when you lead an organization. Focus has got to be on the other person. One of the reasons people are scared of selling is because they're thinking about themselves. I wonder if they're going to like me. I wonder if they're going to think I'm pushy or bad. Oh my God. They're never going to want to speak to me again. Oh, what
Did I do that right? Is this all of that stuff?
No. Take those thoughts out of your head. Insert these thoughts in your head. Who is this woman sitting in front of me? She looks a little sad today. I wonder why. Well, I'm going to make it my mission to put a smile on her face. I'm going to make sure that regardless of whether or not we do business today, she's going to leave here thinking, wow, I'm glad I met him. You know, now imagine the difference between those two ways of thinking.
It's
That's
huge.
leadership. That's leadership. Leadership is about putting the interests of others ahead of your own. That's the key secret to success as a leader.
Yeah, that is actually really profound. And I totally agree with you on that. And I love how you brought up sales, because that is, especially when people are scared, when they have to sell, it's the easiest fix in the whole wide world, is to take the focus off yourself and focus on the other person. It makes everything different. Like it changes. It's almost like an instant, like a snap of a finger. It just changes. I actually call it an about face. When you're looking at the other person and you're focusing on them instead of yourself. So let's talk about scaling businesses, because I think you've had some success there too in helping your clients scale their business. So what's important?
Well, you got to start with having a goal. You know, you got to have a goal. You got to have an outcome in mind. So let's say you have a consulting practice, and let's say you're making $250,000 a year. You can't just think, gee, I'd like to make more money. You need to be thinking, I want to be a 7-figure consultant. Like that would be a good, powerful, noble goal. So you got to start there. And then the next thing you got to do is you got to start with a level of gratitude for what you already have in your life. My mentor teaches me to get up in the morning and start thinking about everything around me that I'm grateful for, like my bed. I got a really great bed, so I'm starting great bed, you know. And then I get out of bed, and it's summertime in Toronto right now, and that's wonderful for us. So wow, you know, I'm like grateful for breezes. I'm really into breezes. So yeah, I'm grateful for breezes, you know, like just feeling that beautiful
Feels
air on my
good.
face.
Yeah.
It does. I'm also grateful that earlier this year I decided to hire a coach, because I used to be a top fitness trainer. And then when I got out of that field over a dozen years, I gained a bunch of weight. So I hired a coach. And with his help, I'm down 40 pounds since February 7th.
Wow,
So
that's a lot in a short time.
the goal. So I'm grateful for my coach, Ammer the Hammer, we call him. You know, so I'm really grateful for him. I'm grateful that I've lost the weight. Like I'm fitting into pants I haven't fit into since 2015. You know, it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing, and I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for my lady, for my 2 sons. I'm grateful that I've got a gym that's close by that I can go and work out. So I get into that. Then I start becoming grateful for what I want to create, so my outcomes. So I'm grateful for stringing together $500,000 months in a row. I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful that I'm going to get to fly to see my mentor in the US on a private jet. Grateful for that. So the things I want to create. I'm grateful for going to Bruce Chris Steakhouse and treating everyone in my family to a nice big ribeye steak, you know, that sort of thing. I'm grateful for all those kinds of things that I'm creating. And then the third level of gratitude my mentor taught me is to be grateful for the adversities. So I'm grateful for that client who signed up and changed their mind almost instantly. It's better that they show me now they're not a fit than I find out about it later when we're, you know,
Down
down
the
the road.
road. Yeah.
Yeah, because that'll cause a lot of trouble. I'm grateful for all the adversity God has given me because it's forced me to sharpen myself and become better. I'm grateful for my ex telling me that, hey, she didn't want to be with me anymore because she made me see how I wasn't showing up good as a man and as a husband. And that forced me to become better and improve. So I started looking at all those things and looking at gratitude in that fashion. Just
And you do that first thing in the morning, or do you do that
I do it throughout the day, but
throughout the day.
I start first thing in the morning, right? So you start to do this. There's an energy vibration that you create
Mhm,
that attracts people to you,
mhm.
makes them want to do business with you. And then I asked God to send me another Julie. So I had a client, I'm going to call her Julie. That's not a real name, but she was going through hell, absolute hell. And when she came to me, she'd had a company that she'd been a part of, and they kicked her out, even though she was the head of the company. And she was like, whoa. So she ended up having to sell her shares, and she came to us, and we could see that she was a good person and we could help her. So in our first month, she started working with us. We helped her get $10,000 in coaching business. In her second month, she went up 20% to 12,000, and then she went up 50% to 18,000. But then in her fourth month, she like over fourfolded that figure to $62,200. It was crazy. And one day, Julie lives in Ottawa. I live in Toronto. It's a 5-hour drive. One day, my eldest son, he had a tournament in Ottawa 5 years ago in this June. Actually has another one coming up at the beginning of August in Ottawa. So he had a soccer, it was soccer. He plays soccer. He's a top level soccer player. So I called her up and I said, hey, you got a son my boy's age. How'd you guys like to come and, hang out with us at the tourney? Maybe we grab some food after. She said, sure. So we did that. Everybody had a good time. We won the tourney, which was also really super great. And then we drove home. A few weeks later, she came to one of our live in-person thought leader events. And this is where we teach people how to do what I've been sharing with you today. And we were at the point with the registration opportunity for people that continue to work with us ongoingly. And usually I don't do much of a pitch. I ask some of our people to share. So she was ready to do that. And she did that. And once she did that, sorry, let me take a step back. It came to the point where I said, who'd like to share? And before I could pick anybody, she bounds on stage and almost knocks me over. Like she was full of energy. So I guess you would. So she looked at the audience and she starts to sob. And I'm like, is she crying? Yeah, she was crying. My lady came up, she works with me, and she gave her some tissues and she wiped her eyes. And then, she turns around to me, tears streaming down her face. Nicky, you didn't know this, but when I came to see you way back when, the bank was about to foreclose on our home. And you didn't know this. And when you and your son came to Ottawa, my son said, Mommy, who are we going to go meet? You know how little boys are, right?
Yeah.
She said, oh, sweetheart, we're going to go meet Nicky Billou and his son. And then the little boy looked at her and said, oh, Mommy, are we going to get to meet the man who saved our family?
Oh my gosh. Wow.
And listen, I'm from Iran. I am not a snowflake. You understand? I don't cry in public. You know what I mean? I don't. I cried like a little girl. I just cried, and we both hugged, and everybody was like, oh, like one of these. And then she said, the bank had given us a foreclosure notice. My husband and I were fighting over money every day like cats and dogs in front of our kids. They thought we were going to break up. I thought we were going to break up. The money took all that pain away and it saved our family. Thank you. So she went and she sat down, and I decided not to call on anybody else. I just handed out
I would say end it there.
handed out the registration forms for people. And at the time, our program is a big ticket today. At the time, it wasn't quite as big as it was today, but it was a good $40,000 year-long program, right? And we had never had a case where there hadn't been, some people who signed up, some people who were like, no, not for me, and some people who were like, let's talk about it, right? On this day, there were 8 prospects in the room. Everyone signed up on the spot. Everybody. On the spot. No arguments, no, can we, nothing. Just, here you go. I'm in. I could not have choreographed that.
I was like, that was the perfect, I always think that things happen for a reason.
Yeah.
And, it was just kind of meant to be that she was there and gave you such an amazing testimonial, that was it sounded like heartfelt.
It was.
And so, yeah, absolutely. And is that your company is eCircle Academy?
Yeah, that's us.
And that is what you do.
Look, we are here to serve the entrepreneur, to help them grow and expand their vision in their business and live life as the best version of themselves and have their business be the best version of itself. We do that through my books, my podcasts, my workshops, and the coaching programs that we do. But that is our mission. If you're an entrepreneur and you want to make your vision bigger, we're here for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I know just by talking to you that you are a rule breaker because you do things different. You're not the, hey, everybody's a number guy. Nope. So what do you think? I saw the big smile as soon as I said that. What makes you a rule breaker?
Look, rules are just somebody else's idea of how you should do things. I'm sorry, what? I believe in freedom. I don't know if you've noticed this, but the theme of all my books, all my work is freedom. Yep. The theme of thought leader branding is freedom, the individual. Screw the rules. Like seriously,
I love this. Yeah. I'm glad I'm not the only one that says stuff like that. That's so great. I really am so happy to have you on my podcast. Like I said, it's so heartfelt. I can find myself, and I'm still to this point, I'm like tearing up because I can just feel your heart. And it's just such a nice treat. And I hope everybody that's listening to this podcast gets the same effect as well and the same gift that you've given to me. I really appreciate that. So where can people find you?
If you're a reader, go on Amazon and type in Nicky Billou, grab a couple books and delve into those. If you're a podcast listener, anywhere you can find a podcast, type in Nicky Billou. You'll see me on all the shows I've been on, plus my own shows, The Thought Leader Revolution and Sovereign Man.
That's amazing. Well, to everyone that's out there that's listening, like I said, I'm sure that you thoroughly enjoyed this podcast. And just know, for everyone in the audience, and I know you've heard me say this before, you are all very special. You're all a gift. And go out there and take some of this information that we got from Nicky, which is just so profound, and go out there and make a big difference in your life and make a big difference in the world. Remember, it's like throwing a stone in a stream. You can create ripple effects. So I love you all. Thank you all for joining us at the Professional Rule Breaker Podcast. If you like this show, please go ahead and give us a 5-star, and don't forget to subscribe and tell all your friends about it. And again, Nicky, really, seriously, it's been my pleasure to have you on the show.
It was an honor to be here today, Kathy. Thanks for having me on the show.
You're welcome.